What if I told you that Jurassic Park, Prey, and State of Fear don't just exist as separate cautionary tales, but as alternate realities in a fractured multiverse? One that began unraveling the moment a few quantum physicists stepped into the 14th century. Welcome to Fracture Realities, the Michael Crichton Multiverse Theory. This is part one of three, titled The Fracture Begins. In this episode, we're diving into the book that secretly changed everything, Timeline. We'll break down how its concept of quantum travel quietly rewrites the rules of Crichton's universe and lays the foundation for multiple divergent timelines across his works. Michael Crichton wasn't just a master of suspense, he was the master of credibility. He embodied his fiction with real science, fake reports, fictional interviews, and academic citations. He wanted you to believe this could happen tomorrow. Crichton's genius lay in blending cutting edge scientific theories with plausible scenarios while building narratives around them that felt more like recovered history than made up fiction. From using real institutions like Johns Hopkins and NASA to fabricated entire scientific papers, he blurred the lines between fact and fiction so seamlessly, readers often questioned whether what they were reading was actually happening. And that world building approach is what makes a shared universe not only possible, but hidden in plain sight. He left breadcrumbs, but never pointed directly at the loaf. You weren't told to make the connections, but if you were paying attention, they were always there. Take Jurassic Park and Prey, for example. Two completely different books in tone and subject matter, but both feature technological advancing too fast, corporate interference, and the nature refusing to be controlled. Thematically, they are siblings. Scientifically, they may even be cousins. And you think about it. The arrogance of InGen isn't that far removed from the overconfidence of Zemus Corporation. The settings are different, but the DNA of Crichton's cautionary storytelling is the same. He wasn't just predicting future tech, he was warning all of us. And in doing so, he left behind a trail of narrative fossils, each one offering a glimpse into alternate futures shaped by one singular scientific misstep. Now, let's get into timeline. A group of historians are sent back to 1357 France by a corporation called ITC using quantum technology. But here's the kicker. They're not actually going back in time. They're entering alternate universes that are identical to the past, but are still a new timeline. This isn't your average sci fi travel narrative. There's no DeLorean, no time loops, no butterfly effect where stepping on a bug changes the future. Crichton presents a far more unsettling idea. What if the past was infinite? What if every time you traveled back, you created or jumped into another reality altogether? One with its own physical rules and outcomes. One of the characters, Merrick, chooses to stay behind and live in the 14th century France permanently. Another traveler's modern era eyeglasses are found in an archaeological dig hundreds of years later, and yet the timeline doesn't collapse. Nothing paradoxical happens. Why? Because it's not time travel, it's multiversal jumping. Crichton slips in this idea quietly, but its implications are massive. It means that the past, present, and future are no longer linear, they're parallel. And every jump has potential to splinter realities again. By the end of timeline, reality has been fractured, and that fracture never got repaired. It gets absorbed. Here's the chilling part: no one really understands the consequences. Not the characters, not the company, not the world. And what's even wilder, ITC isn't held accountable. Their discoveries aren't destroyed. That means other corporations, governments, black market operations might now have access to parallel worlds. Can you imagine the black market for parallel Earth minerals, alternative history intel, or even versions of people? Now, the story ends, but the implications don't. Now, if you zoom out, Timeline is less about adventure and more about opening Pandora's box, except instead of a box, it's infinite boxes stacked inside each other, each one slightly more dangerous than the last. Now, let's consider what happened after ITC has created this bridge between universes. Corporate knowledge of this tech is out into the world, and that leads to Earth experiencing different outcomes. In one timeline, genetics run unchecked and dinosaurs return. In another, nanotech becomes sentient. In yet another, corporations control climate, media, and even government narratives. These realities may seem unrelated at a glance, but they all stem from that same root, a singular moment where science crosses a line that couldn't be uncrossed. But here's the twist: it didn't happen overnight. These aren't obvious superhero style divergence. They're slow burns, cultural, scientific, ethical. The infrastructure of reality erodes piece by piece. You don't know you've left the main timeline until it's too late. It's not an explosion, it's a quiet collapse. So when you read Next or State of Fear, you're not in the same reality as Jurassic Park. You're on a nearby branch, familiar, but fundamentally altered. A reality where the wrong lessons were learned, or where nobody was left to learn from them. It's like watching a civilization explore 5 different roads to its own destruction, and each one plausible. The Crichtonverse doesn't offer a single apocalyptic vision. It offers a menu, and it leaves us wondering, which course are we on right now? Now, in part 2, we're going to explore these 5 major branches that split from Timeline. Each one has its own themes, disasters, and ethical crisis, and each one feels like a natural result of a world that let one aspect of science get too far ahead of society. Crichton never wrote a Marvel style crossover, but that doesn't mean the connections aren't there. You just have to read between the timelines. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss part 2, Branching Realities, the 5 divergent timelines of the Crichtonverse. My name's Josh. This is already overbooked. See you in part 2.